You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting-edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Hello and welcome to Business Wealth Impact. Today we have Kimberly Verbeke, who is a naturopathic practitioner, health coach, and dedicated athlete with a passion for holistic wellness and vitality. She's the founder of Avita Wellness and Aesthetics, a health clinic in Boerne, Texas, serving clients both locally and nationwide with a deep focus on regenerative medicine and aging well. Kimberly empowers individuals to reclaim their health by unlocking the body's natural ability to heal and thrive. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so excited to have you because we were chatting before, and I'd love to hear you talk more about the longevity and the amino acid reserves and the peptides. So why don't you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. I will tell you, I gained a passion for longevity and aging well after my first job, which was working in a nursing home. So, to give you a little context around why I'm so interested in it, I always tell people when you start out at end of life, you know exactly what you don't want.
Mm.
And so, my goal is to help people age well. And two of the ways that we can really do that are through peptide bioregulators and making sure people have an amino acid reserve as they age. So, if we start with the peptide bioregulators, they are not well known here in the US. We're certainly familiar with peptides. They've gained a lot of notoriety in the past several years, but peptide bioregulators are actually these tiny little chains of amino acids, either two, three, or four amino acids strung together. And that's relevant because they're so small, they're easily able to cross the cellular and nuclear membrane and attach right to the DNA. When things can get through those membranes and attach to the DNA, it's able to help us heal. So I went down a rabbit hole quite some time ago, in the goal of helping cancer patient that had also experienced some kidney damage, trying to help the kidneys heal.
Mm.
And I found this research from a Russian doctor. He had been studying these peptide bioregulators that he discovered for over 40 years. And there was clinical data on them, which is just, we don't do a ton of that with nutrients here in the US.
Mm.
But he had this really phenomenal clinical research on these bioregulators. And I was completely blown away by what I found. And the fact that these bioregulators were reversing people's biological age.
Mm.
Dr. Cavinson, the one that studied and discovered them, he describes the peptide bioregulators as retreading the tire. I also came across Dr. Bill Lawrence's work, and he has actually been to Russia and worked with Dr. Cavinson, and he now does clinical research on the bioregulators here in the US. He's a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And he describes the bioregulators as repairing our repair systems, which I love because I feel like people can get a visual, right? Like we have these systems in our body that repair things, but they break down and get old
Mm.
as we age. And so they're not as able to do that. And, what we see is when we're young, we have our metabolic rate and we have disease. And those two shift as we age, right? Because
Mm.
metabolically we can't keep up. And so if we can go in there and repair some of those systems so they work more efficiently, we give people, it helps give their body the ability to age much better, right? To
Mm-hmm.
increase our quality of life as we age, because who's interested in being alive if we have really poor health?
Mm.
um, so they're just really phenomenal. I mean, in terms of what they can do, there are 20 some odd peptide bioregulators, pretty much one for every system of the body.
Mhm.
Also for things like the retina, so not necessarily a system of the body, but a part of the body that certainly experiences aging and changes as we age. So we can support areas of the body very specifically. I do a 12-month longevity protocol with people.
Mm.
I basically spend about an hour and a half consulting with them, kind of going over health history and anything they might be experiencing or not
Mm.
feeling well, and then also do a true diagnostic test, which we look at DNA methylation and
Mhm.
telomere length,
Mm.
and both of those are indicative of uh, biological age.
Mm. Okay. So where do the peptide bioregulators come from? Where do they source them from?
They're sourced from 12-month-old calves.
Oh, okay. All right. And apparently these are not readily available in the United States. You have to order them from Russia?
I Based on both Dr. Cavinson and Dr. Lawrence's recommendations, I order them from the institute there, and they come from the institute there in Russia. There, from what I understand, there are some, you can get your hands on some knockoffs pretty easily that are
Oh,
made over in Eastern Europe. So
oh, okay.
I make sure I get them directly from ones that are approved by the institute. So
Mhm.
yeah, they take a little bit to get here, but they're well worth the wait.
Mm. Okay, so you got that going. Now, what are some results of people taking these peptide bioregulators? Have you seen some miraculous results with these?
I think the most astonishing thing that I've seen is, so the rabbit hole that I went down for the lady with lymphoma and kidney damage. We started her on the bioregulators, and we had done labs, and about 2 weeks later we started her on the bioregulators. She had been taking the bioregulators for 15 days
Mhm.
when her nephrologist ordered updated renal labs for her upcoming appointment, and she called me when she got the results and said, "You're not going to believe this."
Mm.
I'm like, "Not going to believe what?" And she's like, "Every single one of my kidney markers has improved multiple points."
Wow.
And I was blown away. Like, I did not expect that kind of a result that
Mm.
quickly. I know they work. I have no doubt that they work, but I was shocked that in 15 days, and this was not a healthy patient. Outside of
Mhm.
the renal damage, she was dealing with chronic lymphatic lymphoma
Mm.
and had some other pretty significant toxicities. So
Mm.
it wasn't like this was, the stars aligned and this was a very healthy person
Mhm.
otherwise. There was a lot going on here. And so I was completely blown away by how fast they worked, and the results that we've seen in her over time have been amazing.
So what's going on with her now, and how long has she been taking them?
She's been taking them for about, well, she took them for about 6 months. Yeah, right about 6 months,
Mm.
and pretty much normal renal function on her labs now. So
Mm.
her nephrologist had told her there was nothing she could do. There was, nothing she could do to see any kind of improvement.
Wow. So how long have you been working with the peptides?
I've been working with them for about a year and a half.
Oh, it's quite new. Quite new.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
they're
wow.
not new, but for
For
me, they're,
us.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. So that's amazing. Now, what about, you were talking about amino acid reserves.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some amino acid reserves. How do people get the reserve? They just take more amino acids and it banks up?
Well, you really need, as you age, you really need about 1 gram of protein per
Mhm.
ideal pound of body weight.
Mhm.
And I always tell people you are not going to get there on accident. It takes being disciplined to make sure you get that kind of protein intake.
Per day? So 1 gram per day?
No, 1 gram of protein per
Yes.
ideal pound of body weight. So, for example, if your
Mhm.
ideal body weight's 150, you would want to eat 150 grams of protein
Per day.
per day.
That's
Are
a
there
lot.
exceptions? Sure. Someone that is in renal failure would certainly know they're not an ideal candidate for that. But
Right,
most people would benefit from this type of a protein intake.
right.
It is a lot.
That is a
And
lot. That's a lot of protein.
mhm, it
Yeah.
is part of the reason being as we age, it takes a lot more protein to create protein synthesis in the muscle.
Mm,
So that's part of the reason why we really need to make sure that number's up there. I will tell you, when you watch people die from frailty,
mhm.
it's an awful way to go.
Right, it's the sarcopenia, the muscle loss is one of the main reasons. So,
Yep.
basically, people should be trying to get 100 and their pound of ideal weight.
In grams of
So,
protein. Mhm.
how do you have them take amino acid
I do.
powders? That's what I do,
I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of Perfect Aminos. Love them. I think Dr. Minkoff did an amazing job creating that product.
Mhm,
Um, you can do capsules or powder. I
mhm,
start my day with 2 scoops of an amino acid
mhm.
supplement, which would be equivalent to eating about 60 grams of quality protein.
Right. Do you use Kion?
I don't.
Oh, okay. So,
I
is
don't.
the brand called Perfect Aminos?
It is. It's
Oh,
Perfect Aminos by Body Health.
okay, and people can get that on Amazon.
I'm not I think they have them on Amazon, I'm not sure.
Hmm.
I don't get them from there, but you probably can get them on
But you
Amazon.
can get them online somewhere.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you think these Perfect Aminos are the highest quality ones?
Well, I think they're high quality, and the ingredients in them are very, very clean, and I
Mm.
also really appreciate that they kinda give you a little scale, like 2 scoops is equivalent to 60 grams of whey protein. So
Oh.
I
Mm,
like kind of knowing, because if you're trying to make sure you're getting enough, it's
mhm.
kind of arbitrary if you just do a scoop, but you don't really know what it's worth. And some
Yes,
of the amino acid supplements don't really tell you. And so it's like, well, how much do
yes.
I need?
You're guessing. Yes,
So
yes.
that's one of the reasons I'm a big fan of using something that you can't manage what you don't measure, right? And so if you don't know
Exactly.
what the measurement is, it's hard to know. So I
Yeah.
really like that measurement is there with Perfect Aminos.
Okay, so you're saying I think most of us are not getting enough protein. That's what I think.
For
And
sure.
we can yeah, and for sure, the amino acids, I figured that out, that helps, okay?
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
yeah, I use one called Kion. I'm actually
Yeah,
giving a free advertisement for Kion, but I think I'll try yours as well. Okay, so we gotta get that going, and so that with the peptide bioregulators, you feel like those are the 2 things people should be focusing on the most for longevity? Is that what your philosophy?
absolutely. That in connection with just foundational things,
Mm,
right? You have to exercise. You absolutely have to move your body. It
mm,
is, it's free medicine.
mhm, I agree.
You also have to eat healthy. You have to get enough sleep. You have to manage your stress. You know, there's no easy button for being healthy.
Mm,
In the world that we live in now, you're not going to be healthy on accident.
right,
It requires effort. I would say it is well worth it when you look at someone's quality of life when they're sick.
mhm.
Um, they would give anything to be healthy. And I think the small amount of time that it takes to, putting in effort to maintain and improve your health it's so significant, and really becomes more significant as we age.
Right. Now I'm on a big longevity biohacking sort of kick right now. Well, not kick. I'm developing more strategies because, we're all getting older.
Yeah.
And one of the things that shifted for me was when somebody said in your 50s, you really need to make exercise your religion. So I already have a religion, but my second religion is exercise now. And I think hearing that shifted something for me. It wasn't negotiable. It wasn't
Mhm.
like, "Hey, do a bit of exercise," but it made me think, "Wow, this is non-negotiable now," because that's gonna help the muscle build up. Because the protein alone will not help you build up muscle. You have to do exercises to build muscle up. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's they will help you maintain the muscle you have, but women in particular lose muscle faster as we
Mm,
age, particularly after menopause.
mhm.
So really being focused on weight bearing exercise and then making sure we get enough amino acids every day.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing, we need an amino acid reserve to heal and repair. So
Mm.
we're not even talking about just maintaining muscle to keep strong bones, healthy, agile body.
Mhm.
If we get an injury or we get sick, we
Mm.
need even more amino acids.
Mm.
If we're short to begin with, guess what happens when we, right? So this is kind of where that little thing happens with people when they're older. They're doing great. They fall, they break a hip. 9 months later, they're dead.
Mm.
There's no amino acid reserve. So
Mm.
they simply don't have the building blocks to heal and repair. And I saw that over and over again working in a nursing home.
Mhm.
Someone would come in, their kids would be like, "Oh, my mom's super healthy. She just fell and broke her hip. She's just
Oh.
here for rehab."
Mhm.
And I knew statistically she was probably never going to go home, which was so incredibly sad, right?
Right. Yeah. But actually, that
And
happened to my mother. My mother fell, and that was the beginning of the end, but it was quicker than that. But it seems to be always the fall because then that creates other problems.
well, you have a person that's now sedentary. They
Mm.
can't move.
Mm.
So they start losing muscle at an even faster rate.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, it is just,
Beginning of the end.
yeah,
Yes.
it is.
So tell us about your story. So you were working in nursing home, and then what happened?
It kind of how I would say how I got where I am. I wanted to be a medical doctor, gave medication in a nursing home, became really disenchanted. I grew up very holistic.
Mm.
Um, became very disenchanted with medicine and
Mhm.
decided, nah, that's not what I want to do.
Mhm.
Fast forward, I was an endurance athlete for several years and ended up having some pretty significant health issues
Mm.
and just was struggling to find a traditional doctor that could help me. And I figured out, it really made me take responsibility for my own health. Like I'm responsible for it, not someone else. And I had to figure out what I needed. I eventually found a really wonderful functional medicine doctor that I worked with. But it really opened my eyes to a lot in terms of how little training most medical doctors have around health, right?
Mm. And nutrition.
It's sick care, it's not health care.
Mm.
And I, was in my early 30s and had a medical doctor tell me that, I had gained a few pounds and I didn't have any energy and that was normal because I was getting older. And I'm like,
Huh?
what? It was crazy to me that that would be someone's mindset.
That is so funny because I had the exact same experience, and I also thought it was crazy that I was more concerned that I put 3 pounds on, and she just said, "That's just normal. You're getting older, and, by the way, let's get you on, Synthroid soon." And I said, "No way."
Yeah. It's
Mm.
kind of, it was really eye opening. And I just went, I don't think you can help me. And I'm going to find someone that can. And so it led me down, this path because I think there are so many people that really want to be healthy. They're
Mhm.
just not sure how.
Yeah. And how long you been doing this now?
I've been working with people one on one for 9 years.
Mm. Okay. Well, thanks. So basically, apart from common sense of what we all know is you have to have movement or
Mhm,
exercise, we have to eat healthily, we have to get some sleep and try to manage stress well.
mhm,
The two other things that you truly believe in are these peptide bioregulators and also the amino acid and protein, right? Now, protein has a lot of people are talking about this right now.
mhm.
It's like everybody is saying we're not eating enough protein. Um, and what else? And by the way, how many people even know about peptobioregulators in this country?
I don't talk to many people that know. Most people are like, "Wait, what? Peptides?" And
Mm,
I'm like, "No, peptide bioregulators." And they're like, "I've never heard of them."
mm,
I have talked to very few people that have. It's really interesting. I just did a podcast with a lady in England. She's from Ukraine
mm,
originally. And we got on the subject of them. And she's like, oh, yeah, I've been using them for years.
Really?
Yeah. So, they're well known over there, but they just haven't made it over here. And I feel
Mhm.
like they could be such an incredibly helpful tool for so many people.
For sure. Now, I'm guessing that you take them yourself. So
I
what
do.
about your health journey with them? What have you noticed that's, it sounds like they're quite miraculous. So what are some things that have changed about your health with using them?
Yeah, I would say personally, I got on the Dr. Cavinson usually recommends kind of starting with the pineal gland and the thymus, and among
Mm,
other things. And I definitely noticed I've always been a great sleeper.
mm,
And I'm kind of at that age, right? Kind of perimenopausal, where my hormones are doing a lot of fluctuating. And
mm,
that ends up impacting my sleep. And I've always been
mhm,
a great sleeper. And
mm,
when I don't sleep, I'm like, ah, no.
mm,
And I would say my sleep has improved. I've definitely seen an increase in thyroid function,
mm,
more regulation in my hormones.
mhm,
I it's kind of a tough one for me. I look more at my blood work because I feel really good.
mhm,
I'm healthy. I
mhm,
exercise a lot. I'm very active.
mhm,
I'm also very busy. My day is full. So, when I stop and think, I'm like, well, I feel really good.
mm,
It's more those little things, right? Like looking at labs and going, oh gosh, like I'm this looks better. And only thing I'm doing different is the peptide bioregulators.
right.
But I would say I've seen some improvements there, and definitely just more consistent, good quality sleep, and not fluctuations where
Mm,
I'll have, a week where I just don't sleep as good. I'm seeing
right.
less of that, which is wonderful.
Right. Well, labs are important because a lot of people feel great and then they get the labs and they realize that there's all sorts of stuff going on that they don't know about. Um,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's important. And, a lot of people think they're fine. And then all of a sudden they have a heart attack. And it's like, well, how did that happen? If they'd gotten more in depth labs, they might have had some sort of hint about that.
Regular labs are such a cheap, easy
Mm,
way to stay on top of your health. I always describe it as, keeping the wheels on tight. Don't let them
yeah.
fall off. Let's look at
Yeah.
labs, once a year, once every 6 months, depending on your health situation
Yeah.
and your age. And, really gives you the ability to stay on top of things before they become a big problem.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of functionhealth.com.
Yeah.
It's very cheap and you get like over 100 blood tests. It's Dr. Mark Hyman.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, listen, this has been super interesting. So what's something that you want to leave everybody with as far as like a mindset or how they can take a first step towards having better health?
I like to remind people your body is so incredibly capable of healing. You just have to give it the tools it needs.
Mm,
So don't ever feel like you're too far gone. Your body's just, we were made to be healthy and whole. Um, and if you're struggling, find someone that resonates with you to work with that can help you figure out what's going on so
mm.
you can live a high quality life.
Amen to that high quality life. So Kimberly, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for listening to this wonderful interview. Please subscribe, please like, show the love, and we'll see you hopefully on the next one. You're listening to the Business Wealth Impact Podcast, your source for empowering information and cutting edge ideas from the world's top minds. I'm your host, Jeanne Amlour, founder of seven-figure coaching company, Jeanne Amlour International. Join me on a journey to unleash your potential and create your highest success. Welcome to Business Wealth Impact.